Recording. There we go, recording in progress. So we're gonna go ahead and get started, y'all. Thanks for coming. This is our July meeting for OWASP Charlotte. Wanted to just kind of do a little housekeeping and everything. Got some new faces here. Wanted to thank everyone, the new faces and all the old faces as well. Thanks y'all for coming as well. Let's see. Business-wise, we'll just get that businessy side of things. We're looking to go to the symposium this year. We're working on, like I said was earlier, we're looking to do that in October. So if you're going to be in the Charlotte area, which I think most of you are, or UNC Charlotte area, which is on University, come on down, see us. We'll try to have a booth there. I'll definitely be there in my OWASP shirt, so why not? Like I said, everything else is pretty straightforward as well. Little step down, Owen stepped up, and that's what we got there. I guess I also wanted to, for some of our newer members, I apologize for the sadness of what I'm about to say as well, but for some of our older members too. First off, I'll say, I know 2020 has been rough on all of us, like really bad on some of us, and some of us, it's just not been good. But I gotta say, if, and I said this back in our January meetup, if you need anything, you need to talk to someone or anything, please, reach out. I mean, actually, you know what, I'm just gonna throw here. This is my personal number right here in the chat right now. Yeah, right there. If you need anything, you just want to talk, you find yourself in a place where you just, need someone to talk to, like, that's it. That's Josh Jenkins, text me, call me. And, I say all that to say, last week I got a call from a lady in Kansas. She is the mother of one of our members, Catherine Strunk. And Catherine was with us for since 2018. She joined our OWASP chapter. But anyway, I got a call from her in Kansas last week, and she had taken her life. And she was one of us. She was part of, not only just one of us as a chapter, but she was one of us in the security field too. So if you're in a place where you need help or you need someone to talk to, please reach out. Like, I'd say that, my phone number's right there. Just don't feel like you're in it alone, right? So, to that, for me, as like, I didn't know Catherine well out of OWASP. I know that's something that, I have to live with, that I didn't get to know her better, but get to know people, reach out, it's okay to reach out and just say how you doing and all that, and just check on people. So with that, what I'd like to say is I'd just like to take, just a moment or two just to reflect on that. And, just have a moment to remember Catherine and just reflect on that. I appreciate it, y'all. Thank you very much. Sorry for the new members. Sorry, that's a little bit of the heavy right there. So I am sorry for that, but I think that's important. So what we'll do is we'll go into the meetup portion now. And so what I'd like to do is I'd like to introduce our speaker for tonight. This is a friend of mine. I've known him for a good many years. He's always been there to answer any question that I have. Really good source of information for me personally. Really good source of information for a lot of people as well. He's spoken at DEF CON 23, 25, Carolina Con, Kakalaki Con. Derby.
No Kakalaki, Carolina Con. Carolina Con, now known as Kakalaki. So.
Yeah, Derby Con. He spoke at Derby Con before Derby Con went away. So well versed in a lot of things that are security related and technical as well. A really good resource for a lot of things. So if you ever have any question that's just kind of weird or random, Owen knows it, and Owen lives it. So and like we were talking earlier, Owen's been with OWASP I'm going to say since day one, even though he probably would be modest and say he hasn't been. I know he's been with us since day one. So, so I guess without further ado, Owen, the floor is yours.
Well, okay. Hey, welcome everyone. All of what he just said is not true. But yeah, I've been around with OWASP for a while. Really, well, it's been a rough week, rough year, and I've been distanced from everything with everything that goes on. So I haven't been around that much, but now I am ready to do stuff and get back out there again. So I did know Catherine I'm not going to say pretty well. She was super kind, super smart, super funny, very humble. What was planned was a presentation on VoIP, but since I don't have any slides, I'm totally unprepared. I thought it was tomorrow, and that's on me. We're going to do a talk about it, and any questions people may have. But first, we'll go ahead and change the slide to the next one. So for those who don't know me, I do non-conventional systems testing for a bank, and they say emerging and legacy technology, which is basically really obscure stuff. I'm on a research team. But I really started out doing web testing, hence OWASP. And my prior role was web testing and implemented like SDLC and secure application development scanning with, I forget the vendor now, or I won't say the vendor, configuring all of that and getting the application security program kind of rolling, revamping it. Then before that, I was contractor doing DevOps when DevOps wasn't really a big word. And before that, I did development for a red team. And so it's basically an actual developer. So I always had interest in hacking security, kind of OWASP for us, which you mentioned. And Josh has already talked at a bunch of conferences. I really like talking. I don't so much like this unprepared talking, but that's okay. We get through this. And I am obviously not from Charlotte. I'm from England. I've been here 16 years. In Charlotte, 16 years, but I've lived in the States for 21 years, I think. So now live in Charlotte with 2 kids. I have many hobbies and things. I'm not necessarily good at any of them. But I really like mountain bikes, riding those. That's how I get away from computers these days. We're lucky here in Charlotte to have kind of a good place. You can get outside. You got the mountains. You got the beach not too far away too. So within a couple hours drive. So this is an empty slide of the basics. And I'd like to, if anyone wants to unmute or anyone kind of make it a little bit interactive, since I have no content. We all know what VoIP is, right? Everybody uses it, but what is it really? Basically a set of protocols and systems that work around just kind of like the web, except it's different. We've got SIP, and vendors have their own proprietary stuff, but primarily SIP, and there's a few others out there, and a whole bunch of protocols that come together to make telephone calls happen. So there is normally a PBX involved, which is private branch exchange, and the one I personally use, because what part of my job I test phone systems and IVRs, the interactive voice response, is Asterisk, because you can write these things called AGI scripts, which is the Asterisk gateway interface, which reminds me a lot of the old CGI. And we can get into this a little bit. We try some live stuff so I can just have some recorded demo fails. Does anyone have any questions like about VoIP in general? Or are we good to go there? You know what it is, like voice over IP. It's how.
I know what it stands for.
Yeah, you know. Right. So SIP is a lot like HTTP. Would love to. It's difficult to screen share and do a presentation that has no content in it. Wireshark has a whole set of VoIP utilities, decoders and stuff that if you happen to be on a network that's running VoIP, most companies are going to hide it from you. But you can just like go right in, because a lot of places do not use encryption on their VoIP streams. Some places do, and just go ahead and listen on the wire. Does everyone know what phishing is?
Yes.
Like voice phishing. This one is a graph that from a presentation I did a few, I don't know how many years ago, but Jason was at that conference because he did a much better presentation like right before or right after me. And I was just looking at these statistics on Google, and it's actually trending upwards. So that was kind of cool. But you kind of see it peaked in 2007 as, I guess, I'm not sure if that's when Google Trends was made or whether that's just something happened in 2007. So phishing versus phishing, we should go back through these in a second too, and then do a comparison since this was a few years. I mean, it says January 2016, so I'm going to think it was probably 2017, 2018. When you compare it to phishing, which everybody knows what phishing is, it's just minuscule in comparison. But the next one is phone fraud is a little better, right? This is phishing versus phishing, and then you have phone fraud versus phishing. So there is interest out there, and that's kind of the whole overview right there. I thought that was neat. We'll go back through those and take a look. But next slide. Then there's these just regional interests. I thought that was really interesting that like there is a lot of interest in phishing in certain areas. And it's India, Bangalore, those are the cities. And then specifically, right, in those areas. So I bet that's
very
changed.
concentrated. Yeah.
Yeah, I bet it has changed a lot. Virginia was odd.
I'm surprised Florida's not on there.
Like, yeah, well, what is phishing would be, that would be funny. California, Texas, and Virginia. I don't know why. It's just interesting. I'm going to go back through these in a minute. We'll kind of take a look if they even have this capability anymore. Phishing schemes, you've got malware, all of these. I'm not going to read them. The reason I bring this up is because phishing is what a lot of people use VoIP for. It's because you can hide, mask your caller ID, or a lot of phone systems will get compromised, and they pretty much contribute to all of this. Let's see what the next mystery slide is. That might be, oh, yeah, that's all of the presentation. So there's endless schemes of these.
So what's the jury duty one? That's interesting to me. What is that?
So if you're trying to get information out of someone, this is one I've experienced. Posing as a government official, you know, as you've been selected for jury duty, or knowing when someone's been selected for jury duty, you can send them or potentially pose as someone you're not to acquire information that they may not give to somebody else. Does that make sense?
No, it does. Like, jury duty is one of those things. Like, if you don't show up, it's kind of like a big boy
Mhm.
prison offense. So people are more. It seems like someone would be more willing or compliant to give up information at that point.
Correct.
Kind of like an IRS scam, right?
Yeah, like the IRS scam, and if you spoof your caller ID and it looks legitimate, people do believe that. The IRS scam got a friend, an old friend of mine, and I was trying to explain to her that it is absolutely 100% a scam. They are never. You're not going to be asked ever to pay the IRS with Apple Pay card or Google Pay. You don't have to go to Walmart right now. And she said, no, it's true. They've got the evidence again. And she fell for it and couldn't believe it. And I told her, I said, don't worry about it. If it's a big deal, you'll get a letter in the mail. But oh well.
There's a guy online. What's his name? He does this where he gets those numbers, acts, pretends to be an old lady, and just absolutely gets these guys going.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, that's funny. Personally, I do not mess with any of that, but it's funny to watch somebody else that I forget his name. He has a YouTube. You can look it up.
Oh yeah, good guy right there.
Also, I don't have the time for that. So since we're here, I'm gonna make this bigger. Let's see, we've got, if you're wanting to do any kind of SIP testing or VoIP phone testing, reach out to me if you have any interest, because I'd love to find other people that have interest in it and would be willing, especially like Jason said earlier, is we're kind of looking for developers. OWASP is a great place to meet people. So this is a config file for Asterisk, and you can see it's pretty easy to get a SIP config working, so it talks to Asterisk. I mean, just a couple of lines there, and then what you have is a dial, an extensions.
I'm still seeing the last slide. I don't know if you're showing something else.
Okay, well, I should probably share the correct screen, huh? Thank you, Jason.
Oh, no problem. I was getting confused.
Yeah.
This doesn't look like a configuration file.
Looks like the most best configuration file ever.
That looks like a configuration file.
Yeah.
So I would say I can share working config. Actually, I have a working configuration file in my GitHub, which I will post later.
Yeah.
I made a thing. Go ahead.
Do you have to have access to PBX to get this, or is this something that you can pull off of device, like phone devices, or like how do you?
Okay, so this, I'm just saying this is for Asterisk, which is the PBX.
Okay, so that
probably didn't communicate that properly. So yeah, and I can explain a little bit about Asterisk because it is very confusing. Basically, you can just apt-get install it. Debian or most distributions, YARM or whatever you use, and it will install fine, but it looks very daunting and confusing. Like you'll get a etc asterisk folder with all. It will probably be way more than this.
Wow.
Number of configuration files, and you're like, what is all of this stuff? But really, you only need to be concerned. You can delete. What I normally do is copy all of these out into a new directory, and then start with a smaller number of the ones that you actually use, because these are modules. Like IAX is, yeah, I think it stands for the Interactive Exchange. And these aren't clean. I'm not showing you my passwords. I can't show you, but I can show you this one, which is clean, mostly. It has a provider in there. and it has some configuration settings. These are your codecs, so it says allow GSM, and you would never know that unless you read the manual and tried to pick through this.
Yeah.
I don't know what qualifiers. Yes, I know what cam reinvite is, and that's something to do with calling. DTMF mode is, you know, when you make a phone call and you hear the beep. That's what it is. It's I've forgotten, since it's been so long since I've done a presentation on what it stands for, but I could Google it. But it's basically it's summing mode frequency, dial tone frequency. Don't know what it is. Remote PIDs, I think those are, but you don't need to know what it is to get to work.
No,
So port 5060, if you see it on the web, or Showdown, if you use Showdown, which is the thing that scans the internet, is normally SIP, and this needs to be open on your router and pointing to your PBX.
and it's always UDP then, or only
Yep.
UDP?
Normally UDP. And then
I mention that because if a lot of cases, if you're doing a scan, a lot of people skip doing a UDP scan.
yes, exactly.
You just do TCP.
Yeah, and DNSSID lookups on outbound calls. I don't know what pedantic is. I thought that was fun. And this may be an old configuration file by now because they change every version, but this is the important line. We do right there. What's that saying is register this user and pass. Oh, no, I can't bin at your provider. I'm on a Mac and I just got it, but I never used my Mac. So if you're behind that, you will set your IP here, your public external one. And this is an option that you never want. Don't allow this one, never. Because what that does is it lets anybody with a SIP client register to your, I'm not going to say never, but if you're a novice, do not allow guests on your PBX. I did it once and I regret it because someone came in and made a bunch of phone calls and spent a bunch of money. This is your local net because it needs to know it for routing. Caller ID, that's exactly what it sounds like. That's the format. I've got it commented out because I use dynamic caller ID, which means I can change it based on what's in the dial plan, which we'll get to in a little bit. And then this is your authentication. So the register tells it to register, and then you have another one for you have contexts within Asterisk. So you have like an inbound context for the calls coming into the PBX, and then you have your outbound, which is this register. But generally you use the same provider for inbound and outbound. Then you've got your mode for DTMF. And like I was saying about the context, can reinvite, and then your codecs. And there's different reasons you use different codecs. This is a type of a friend, which is basically it's saying it's a client of Asterisk. There are different types, but I generally just use the friend. Username, secret can reinvite. They're not that important. And you see this one has caller ID, so that is what the caller ID would show up if I register as this user with PBX and then make a phone call. They hit escape first. Let's see if I've got an extensions clean. So the extensions clean is where you configure your dial plan. And it looks kind of weird, right? But what it's saying is extension 111 dial SIP /IP, which was the user I showed you. I think that's 45 seconds, and that's the context. Then you got my comments. So if you dial 114 or 111, it's basically doing the same thing. 113, you go to the menu. Call IDs are written, and okay, this is the one. So on an inbound call with extension 47, it would call this file, which I was saying earlier was AOA. Messed it up big time. I can't shift. It calls that file, and we're going to take a look at that one in a bit. And then, well, let's scroll through that.
So that actually runs a script, that one you were just pointing at, the IP
Yep.
test dash test.
Nope. No, I don't want to VI. I want to CD into that directory to see what's in there. Let me do that on my other screen to make sure there's nothing of value. Confidential.
Love doing demos on live systems.
Yeah. No, we're good. I can CD into there, but I don't have that IP test in there. That's probably why it was commented out.
Oh, it's not in there.
The file is not in there, but what that did, I'm trying to find. I'm just working on my other computer, so I can make sure I confirm that I don't. Stupid. But they're basically PHP scripts, which that's a good one. So you got this one. It's just PHP code, and this is what you include with when you're writing an AGI script. So it's not really a whole lot for us to look at there. But Freak Me was a project I worked on. It's on GitHub. If you'd set time limit for execution to 30 seconds, include that file, instantiate the class, and then all this one does is answers and then plays goodbye and hang up.
Wow, it's so rare to see PHP used for something that's not a website.
Right, and it's not my flavor of choice. I would not really want to use PHP for this, but it's the most complete library out there that I've used. Let me look at the outbound one. I'm pretty sure that's good to go to. This is all online anyway. Yeah, so we can look at that one. Oh, I'm already open on another screen session. Oops. So Freak Me was a project I did where basically it would allow you to dial into it or set a bunch of targets, and it would dial them and play them a recording, and this is the code for that. And you can pull it down off of GitHub. I think I should probably update it, but it was running on Vagrant, so you could just Vagrant up it, and it would download and install Asterisk with all the dependencies.
All right.
I'm not sure if it still works. And then, so you get the recording selection name. The code is very bad, so we should probably include it in a vulnerable app. It was just quick and dirty. And it would take the recording selection name, take the WAV file of it. Because it was actually a IVR in itself that you would dial in, and you'd be able to say, it'd ask you which recording you want, and you could play the recordings, and you'd on your phone press the button that corresponded to what was going on. So you'd select the recording, and it waits for the response, and then it puts the response in there. So not super useful if you don't have enough of a demo, but it's kind of cool. Let me see menu. share in the old one. No, that is not good. That has my phone number in it. It's just fine. I just don't want it on the internet. Let me copy that one. Does anyone have any questions or totally lost or not interested at all? Let's do this.
I mean, my main questions would probably be around if you're doing any sort of pen test or red team assessment and you run across an Asterisk installation. I mean, are there, let's say, is it easy to get into? Are there ways in other than the typical way to get into a Linux server? Or like through the
yeah,
itself, or
it's kind of difficult one to answer because yes, kind of. I mean, there are exploits against Asterisk, right? If you know the version number. Mostly, what I'd say is you can maybe break into the IVR by dialing into it and going through the functionality. You know, brute force pins and extensions and things like that.
I guess there's probably I imagine there's extensions and whatnot that are not part of the message that you see.
Right, that's what I test for, is kind of go in and see if you can break the logic and or break out of the context. There are things like if you had a whole bunch of people dial in and just camp out in an endless loop if you happen to find one. It's kind of like a denial of service. But the main way people would break into an Asterisk server that wasn't, you know, through the traditional Linux, is most places that would install an Asterisk, are you going to use, say, one of these run-of-the-mill boxes that you kind of download from the internet? I forget the name of all the new ones. There's a ton of them. They always come out with new ones, and they're always kind of lacking in their security or misconfigurations, like Trixbox or what's the other one? I forget. And they kind of fork each other and go around. But one of them had a cross-site scripting vulnerability in it, which was pretty interesting. So I've done a demo, and I don't know if I still have it, a recording of it, or if I do, where it is. I'd have to find it. But basically, I sent a SIP message with some data in it, which had a XSS payload that when you log in to the Asterisk server, it and would read the logs and then execute that cross-site scripting in the context of the administrator, which was pretty nasty because I was able to get a shell coming back from that.
Yeah.
Just and XSS is sometimes dismissed as kind of a lower severity thing, so it's kind of cool to go back. There's we go back to this one. This is how the text to wave is how you get to toggle menu. Press start, press 1 for setup, press 2 for exploit, press 3 for reporting, 4 for help, press pound to hear the menu again. And this getting the choice and breaking out into functions. I had it would repeat the menu. It was so goofy. But yeah, to use Asterisk, I don't know if it's up or not. You kind of get a little console like, let's do, nope.
Just I'm perusing some of the CVEs on
On Asterisk,
Asterisk there. Yeah,
there
there's
is a lot of
couple
them.
really nasty ones.
Yeah, because it's just like VLC and other media encoding
Yeah.
things. It's difficult. It's very difficult when you're dealing with codecs.
This one here allows remote attackers to execute arbitrary code by sending a long voice or video RTP frame. I have no idea what that means, but
Wait, let's say that again.
allows remote attackers to execute arbitrary code by sending a long voice or video RTP frame.
Okay.
Yeah.
RTP is the real-time protocol,
Yeah.
which is what the media goes over. So when you I kind of explain it.
Oh, it says a buffer overflow is what that's what
basically. Yep.
Yeah.
So you do something like Python and Scapy to create a packet to replicate that.
It's bigger than the standard.
Yeah, everybody's pretty quiet. Nobody else has any questions, or are they all permanently muted?
It could be.
I was gonna say if it's a buffer overflow, where's Parker when you need him?
Oh, that shot's fired. That's
Oh, so for anyone who's not familiar with that one, Parker loves his buffer overflows. So I'm not being mean. The dude is probably one of the best I've seen at buffer overflows. Like that section on the OSCP, I'm pretty sure Parker would look at it and be like, "Oh, goody."
yeah, Pete.
Hey, Owen, question. So if you get a shell on these servers, is there any confidential, any user data or
Ooh, yeah,
you
there's
know,
all kinds of user data. I mean, anything that goes through the phone system, you can potentially monitor, which means basically make a recording of.
what would you consider like some secret?
Kind of credit card numbers or something flying through PBX or two-factor authentication tokens, maybe.
But these are audio calls, right?
Yeah. So you'd
How-
have to extract the audio call, or you could also get like phone numbers that people are calling and when. I mean, it all depends on what.
So
your
the
idea-
data you would exfiltrate is just the audio files? Is it?
Yep. You can do
Okay.
that. You can drop people's call if you got a root on one of these or was able to access an Asterisk console. I mean, you can control every aspect of the PBX. So you could send people to joke lines or something, or drop calls, or join them. Or we could get Zoom bombed again. Zoom bomb some people.
I see.
That's a good question.
Could I mean, to say to's question there, could I, redirect it to anywhere I wanted to, create like a trunk line to somewhere else, right?
Yep.
Okay.
You could do that. If you reconfigure the Asterisk and hope nobody noticed, yeah, you could redo the entire menu system so that people dialing in get different things than they were expecting. That would be
Gotcha.
one. That's a good one. I never thought about from that side. Or clearly not enough. Really haven't thought about.
I guess because you can reference scripts on there, you could come up with some pretty elaborate attacks too.
Yes, yeah, there is some pretty elaborate attacks. One of them, I've pitched this before. So you can merge calls. So what I was doing was letting an extension, like someone would dial into my PBX, and then I would make a call to somewhere else with, say, a different place. Let's see, we dial a sporting goods store or something, and then you can kind of intercept or man in the middle of their call. So at one point, I have my phone line. People would dial in. It would take that phone call, do a beep to indicate you're recording, and then dial the Santa hotline, but you're recording their reaction. No, so you can hear what they want for Christmas, kind of thing. But that one was particularly nasty if you think about telephone banking or
Yeah.
healthcare, because you can't detect it. And it also went the other way. Like I could make an outbound phone call with a spoof caller ID, so it looks like I'm calling from the pharmacy, and I can say your prescription is ready. Please confirm your, an automated voice. Please confirm your date of birth or something. Or connect to them with a voice and say, hey, this is someone so and so from IT support. I've noticed some unusual activity on your computer. I'm going to need to, I'm going to forward you to tech support. This was the other scenario. Okay. I'm going to forward you to tech support so that you can sort this out. You can always say, I'm on a secure line. And I'm from tech support or security, and we've noticed that there's some unusual activity. I'm going to need you to talk to tech support. I'm going to transfer you right now. And then you transfer them. Or it makes it sound legitimate. It's transferred, but you're still there on the line, muted but recording.
So you're basically adding legitimacy to the call simply by standing in the middle.
Yeah, pretty much.
That's cool. That's cool.
Yeah, and there's not really a whole lot you can do to prevent things like that from happening, other than awareness of training. Maybe if you saw it was a problem, you could instruct your call center to say, you did not get you dialed directly in, correct?
Okay, fair enough.
A lot of the pranksters would sit on phone numbers that were very close to big companies just to wait for people to dial into their number, and then just be obnoxious with these people who didn't know they'd not dialed the place they'd intended to, which is it's funny. But a lot less malicious than it could have been.
I mean, obliquely related, as we've been sitting here, 4 or 5 other people have tried to get into this, and I've had to deny them. So while we've been in here, so
yeah, that's about all I probably have. Unless I'll take questions all day. Well, not all day. I've got a time limit, but
before you do that, Owen, I'm going to actually stop the recording right now. So then we'll take some questions.
Yep.